Hello and welcome. We thought we'd keep you all guessing was the general gist of it. Connor's not here, but we figured if we start on time, some of you would come in fashionably late. We didn't want that, so we thought we'd hold on. I was shining my bald patch. That's what I was doing. So it looks super duper whilst we are getting ready. Well, the FA Cup draw is just about to begin. They look like they're having a great time. It looks a little bit like question time at the moment on there. So who knows? Maybe they'll go around and ask a few questions. Just that bit where you see the camera over the shoulders of all the people. So yes, very much looking forward to it. We are, I believe, ball number 10. So yeah, 32 to choose from. We don't want anybody in the top 12, really, is the general gist of that. Right, onwards, ever onwards. We have got two wonderful people with us ready for so much conversation around Manchester United. I don't know how we're going to fit it all in, but we're going to have to because I don't have all that long to spare before I have to dash over to yet another channel and do it all again. So without further ado, we've got the two C's, one with a ch and one with a k. Hello, Charlie, and hello, Eris. How are we doing? We all right?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Not bad. 4-0 win is a nice, it's a nice feeling.
It's frustrating. I genuinely sat there and I was thinking about it in the morning going, what will I put down as my prediction? I was thinking, just go 4-0. It's Man United, Liverpool. And then I second-guessed myself. I started thinking about it. And so I went, no, we probably won't score 4. I've thought we're going to do that a few times. We'll only score 2. And, of course, they went and scored 4. So I'm just going to guess 2-0 more often now because 4-0 is much more fun than the other way around. So there we go. We'll obviously keep up to date with what's happening on the FA Cup draw. As soon as we start seeing numbers being drawn, we shall let you know. But while we're waiting, Charlie, why don't you tell us a little bit of what you were feeling when you saw the lineup? Because I've got to be honest, it looks pretty good. Nice to see Hinnie in there. Obviously, Dominique Janssen back into the centre midfield slot, which surprised the grand total of nobody. And of course, Leah Galton back as well. And on the left-hand side, were you happy? And did you clap your hands?
Yeah, I was pleased with the lineup because I was hoping that we'd be playing Galton and Jace as actual wingers, which would support Turland, who's a brilliant striker in the box when the ball is played into her. So I was hopeful there. The only thing I wasn't sure about was sort of the Clinton Miyazawa is who was going to quite play where, but Hinnie played as a slightly deeper role, which I think worked really well. Because her and Janssen are such different players, I think we found a lot this season that the midfield pairing hasn't worked brilliantly. I feel like at times the two players there have been far too similar and have almost been trying to do the same job. So it was nice having Miyazawa in. Technically, she's really good. And like in the game, like Miyazawa just goes about business. Didn't notice her that much because she didn't make errors. She's a really tidy player, isn't she? She looks after the ball. She releases it quickly. And what you do notice whenever she receives it, her first thought is to look forwards and try and play the ball forwards, which is really, really nice, particularly when you've got Jace and Galton who are making those forward runs out wide. So yeah, pleased with the lineup. Pleased to see everyone playing where you'd expect them to be playing, which was nice. And it ended up working out quite well.
I got just in time for the dogs barking there. We're a little bit early. It's not 7:45 for anyone who uses that as their usual evening call. For the 7, why you'd want to care about 7:45? I don't know. Maybe it's a kickoff time for a football match. Who knows? But yeah, absolutely, Michael. We could have. It's very little about me that's heavy metal anymore. The beard is sort of Connor's your man for that one. It's not a Barry thing. I don't mind a bit of black, but I put mine in with pink because obviously I'm a bit of a Bret Hitman Hart fan. So there we go. Keris, same question to you. Listen, it was me hosting. If you ever thought this was just going to sit there following the usual professionalism that Connor comes up with, you were very wrong. This is a playground for me. Keris, I shall try to be professional with you. Your thoughts? Obviously, again, same question. Again, I was absolutely delighted. I think Connor was quite pleased with the team lineup as well. What was your thoughts when you first saw that?
Yeah, I liked it. I think it's a shame that we seem to have injuries or needing to rest players in order for players like Miyazawa to get the start. Is a shame, but I'm always really excited to see her in the lineup because I think that every time she comes in, she's she's just a calm presence, but she's also very agile. She's very quick. She's got great vision. I think like there was one through ball that she played to Galton, like she took one touch, saw the ball and played it yesterday up into their half in the second half. And I think Galton laid it off someone who then missed, but it was a really, really good chance. It came from her vision. So I was really happy to see her in the lineup. Nice to see, defence. Not much to say about our back line at the moment, except just full strength defence, which is nice for as long as it lasts. Nice to see Galton coming back in as well. I think she doesn't get injured enough for you to call her injury prone, but you also, when you hear that she's injured, you're not that surprised. So it's really, really nice to have her back, because I think she's just been such a good lieutenant for the team every single time that we give her that start. Her goal was fantastic. So yeah, really pleased with the lineup. It's nice to just see that ability to rotate a little bit, but keep the sort of same or better output. I think speaks to sort of building squad depth, which is really good to see.
No, absolutely. And I'm going to ask you this question, or I might throw it back to you, Charlie, as well. I was really impressed with the performance of Dominique Janssen. We're going to go on to her just a little bit further ahead, but it was just what you said there about the defence that really struck me, which is that there's a lot of calls for putting Dominique Janssen into the defence rather than the midfield. I think I replied to you by saying singing the 12 Haley Lads song is just to let you know who I would like to be playing in the midfield. But when you look at that back four, you wouldn't really want to disrupt it, would you? So where do you sort of stand on that? Would you move Dominique back into the defensive slot? Because it could. I'm not saying she's not a good defender. We all know she's absolutely brilliant. You can see that in the way she works when she's back. But could disrupt it. What do you reckon? I
wouldn't. And I said at the start of the season I was concerned because I love our centre-back pairing, and I didn't want to, I was very sentimental about it, and I didn't want to break them up, and I still don't. So to see her sort of go, we are actually seeing some balls go into whatever that weird, arm depth thing is in the draw now, by the way, so stand by. But anyway, I was concerned that sort of we would see, if we saw Janssen going into the back line, it could disrupt some of that chemistry. But I'm really pleased with what we've seen from her in central midfield. I think the fact that we've managed to adapt her in that way, she's played there a bit, but not a lot, is really positive. And I was really impressed with her yesterday. I think her progressive passing is really good, and I think she's growing into her role. So while I understand the sort of a criticism we have of Skinner sometimes is not playing players in their natural position or whatever, I do actually think in this case it has worked. And I think she's stepped into that role really well, which again is difficult, right? Because I love Haley Ladd, and you don't want to see her not playing and not getting minutes. But that's the good kind of side that we get of having that competitive squad. So I would actually keep things how they are at the moment. I think it's working in our favour. And it's not like our defence needs, if we were, shipping 2-3 goals every game, I would say, yeah, we need to change something. But we've conceded 3 times. So I would not be that concerned.
I tend to agree with you. The first 2 matches have been drawn for anybody interested. So we are going to keep an eye on it. Number 12 has just come out, which I think is West Ham. It is indeed. Look at that. It's an alphabetical order. If you're interested, 1 to 12 is the WSL. The next 10 are the northern teams. And the next 10 are the southern teams. Liverpool against West Ham. Ooh-wee. Be an interesting one. Charlie, same question to you, bearing in mind the fact I might interrupt you at any second.
Yeah, I'm really uncomfortable with how this draw is going. There's no, he's number 1. Sorry. I think yes, we've not conceded many goals. That is a fact. I do wonder how much of that is down to Fallon. I'm not massive on for this XG stuff, but if you look at how many goals, surefire goals she prevented, it's something like 9 or something ridiculous. So she's done some decent work. I still think at times it looks a little bit shaky at the back. I think we're conceding too many chances. But I think what helped in the Liverpool game was the forward players, was how they were being allowed to play, or how they were playing at times, alleviated the pressure. Because we spent a lot of the season playing on the back foot at times, I think. And, can we just watch this bit?
Yeah, so Chelsea have just come out first. So let's just, everyone just hold
gonna
your
be the same.
thoughts and prayers for a minute.
Arsenal are home to Bristol
Number
City.
28, we don't care
Coming
about.
soon.
We don't care about that. So everyone, we do
Galton,
not have,
Chelsea and
not have Chelsea away, and we can all carry on with what we were
What
doing.
we were saying. I think what helped Janssen in the position she's been playing in Liverpool was the movement from the players in front of her for large parts of the game. Outside of the first 20 minutes, were difficult or uncomfortable. I thought, here we go again. It's going to be lackluster and boring and ponderous. I think how they set up with the more direct runs from Galton and Jace and the work from Heaney in the middle, I think that helped a lot. And that's perhaps something we need to look at going forwards. But like Kara said before, I worry that Miyazawa won't get a look in once our injured players are back again, and we would just go back to type, which I think would be a mistake. It'd be a shame if that 11 didn't get another run out next weekend. I think it's the best we've played this season. We weren't brilliant, but it's the best we've played.
It's interesting you say that, because I thought that. I genuinely thought it was the best game of the season, but again, it wasn't perfect. I suppose that's the interesting bit about it, isn't it, Keris? That it wasn't quite Man United as we're used to having seen them in their pomp, for want of a better term, but it wasn't bad. And that there was some stats come up about how we've had fewer shots and all of those sorts of things. But actually, this was much better. 21 shots, more possession. We did dominate it. Do you think that was a case of us looking a little bit more like our old selves? Or do you think it was Liverpool making us look a little bit better? Sorry, Brighton and Hove Albion have just been drawn. I got a little bit worried there because I saw a number. It's not us though, or is it?
So I think yesterday it was interesting. As Charlie said, first 20 minutes, I thought it was a very open game and a very even game. And I think had they put one of their chances away in the first 20 minutes, then it would have been very different. And then you can look at what happened next in one of two ways. So you can say either we were lucky because they made two errors effectively, especially on our second goal. It was just a long pass played when it didn't need to be played. You can say that those individual errors were a stroke of luck for us, and that was what kind of put the game basically not quite to bed, but put it pretty far out of Liverpool's reach. Or you can say that the criticism that we've had all season is that we've not been ruthless enough, we've been shot shy, we've not taken our chances, we've been a bit cautious. And we've countered all that by scoring 2 goals in, like, I think it was my lovely stat man, my dad, who said we scored 19 seconds after they kicked off for the first goal, right? So that's ruthlessness, and that's what we've been asking for. So I think if we're going to criticise the team when they're being shot shy, they're being overly cautious and they're not being clinical, then we've got to give them the credit when they have been. And I think we were clinical, but we weren't clinical in the first 20 minutes, which was that was a bit of a concern, that sort of slow start. We got away with it because Liverpool didn't take their chances. If we start that slowly against higher quality teams, then we will get punished for it. So I think, we looked a bit more like our old selves, but we just needed to sort of start that way from the beginning, would be my kind of main takeaway.
I tend to agree. Sporty, I could not agree with this comment more. It's very, very interesting. I remember the old days. It's a shame we're not on that channel, really, but it doesn't matter. I can still throw it in there. TJ, if he comes back, will see it. Like the old days when they just used to pick the numbers out the bags, job done. Took about 5 minutes. The minute I saw the question time audience, I thought, because they've got to drag it out a little bit because all these people are there to watch it. No, just draw the numbers. Literally nobody cares at this point. I would be surprised if anybody is really sitting there listening to this going, oh, this is wonderful. Best telly in hours. No, it's not. I mean, yes, they're up against the One Show, but that's about it. And frankly, that means you're probably going to win no matter what. So, do you remember when it used to be on the One Show as well? They did that, didn't they? Had a little break in the middle of the One Show. But fingers crossed, the stream's been all right so far, and they've started swirling the things around the balls. So hopefully we will get an answer soon. Number 17. Newcastle United. Interesting, so that's who we've got coming up. So we'll keep an eye on it. But Charlie, similar sort of question to you. Obviously, you were there. You saw the game. What was your opinion on how we played? Because Keris is right, and Mark Skinner himself in the press conference said that, you know, when we've been in games where we've not been quite so good, you know, we've been critical of that. So actually, it makes sense to not be critical and to be given the credit when it's due.
Yeah, it was much better. It was outside of the first 20 minutes, we just moved the ball a little bit quicker and forced the issue somewhat. I still think there's work to be done on, like, when the opposition are playing the ball out from the back, we're still insisting on this Turlin just pressing the full back line on her own, which I think is a really strange way to do things. And I still think our centre backs
City have just been drawn. 1 second. City are drawn at home. Everybody cross your fingers and your toes that this isn't number 10.
No, it's not number 10. Just saw it on the ball at the bottom.
What's the number?
24.
It is 24. Look at you just ahead.
Yeah, I hate when they show that underneath shot because you can see it ruins some of the anticipation.
So we have not drawn Arsenal, Chelsea, or City. They've all already been drawn to other teams.
Right.
So we can take a little bit of solace in that, but also none of them have drawn each other, which is quite annoying because that would have been
Delicious.
nice. Yeah.
Yes, I still think our defence is sometimes a bit slow on the ball. Being there at the game behind in the terrace when we were attacking that end, watching sort of Millie and May pick the ball up and look and then see the runner and then just pass the ball back in, pass it back central. So I think they need to do a bit of work on that. But I think the midfield worked better in this game. I think the balance of it was better. Grace Clinton had a bit more of a free role, and I think Miyazawa and Janssen worked better as a pair. Didn't get in each other's way because that's been happening a lot this season. And I think I've hold my hand up and say I've been one of those players that said perhaps Galton isn't going to be a regular starter now. She'll start to be phased out. But then she came into this game having been injured, and I thought she was incredible. Just bullies opposition players off the ball, just pushes past them. And I think this season we've been a little bit too lightweight at times, and she came in and was really physical with the opposition fullback and made Liverpool's life difficult. And I don't think Liverpool were great, to be honest, outside of the
10. That's us. It's a home draw.
We are at home.
Manchester United at home. 2.
Go on, be Sheffield United.
Fulham.
Go on, Sheffield United. Come on.
Say 26. Oh,
18, which is West Brom.
Albion. So there we go.
So that should
please finish off what you were saying, and then let us know what you think about that as a cup draw.
Yeah, that's a nice draw. It is. I'm not going to get too carried away. I don't want like a prat. We were much better, but there is still a fair amount of work to be done, I think. Particularly when those strategic things, like I was just saying there, of what we do when the opposition are playing out from the back, because at the moment it's not much of anything, and playing the ball quicker out from the back ourselves. But it was the midfield that made a difference. The midfield worked much better, and we got more out of our forwards from an attacking sense with those three being in midfield together.
Absolutely. Yeah. Did you say anything about what you thought about the FA Cup draw?
Me?
Think you did? Yeah. Should we draw on West Brom?
Yeah,
like that? Happy?
Oh, yeah. When have we played them before? Did we didn't. It's like
I don't recall us having played West Brom before.
I always fancy like a new side that we've not played, because there's loads of sides outside the WSL that we haven't played before, have we? Like since United reformed, just not played them. So I was secretly hoping for like a West Brom or an Ipswich or a Cheltenham Town, because Blackburn maybe, because it'd be interesting. But yeah, nice draw. I think on our pitch as well. Playing a lower league side on Lee Sports Village pitch is completely different to playing a lower league side on their pitch. I think
that.
Oh, look who's showing up in the comments.
Always whinging, isn't he? Could have drawn away and given you a closer game for a change. Why do you think I wanted Fulham?
Why do you think I wanted Sheffield United? We all could do with not having to drive to Lee Sports Village.
Well, it's not Sheffield United. As you know, it is West Brom. What do you reckon, Keris? Agree with that? It's one of those nice day out for West Brom, hopefully, but should be safe passage.
So for those not familiar with West Brom, they're in the 3rd tier, the National League. They're currently 8th out of 12 in the National League. So if we do contrive to lose them, then we have like really screwed up quite badly. But yeah, hopefully it should be, just a nice-ish confidence booster.
Massive game for them. They'll be loving that. I wish it was a bit like in the men.
Exactly.
Showed the lower league sides waiting for their names to be pulled out. They'll be absolutely buzzing with that draw. And it
Did
being
you see the Accrington Stanley lad who was like a massive Liverpool fan? Did you see the clip of him? I would encourage everyone to go and find that online. This guy who plays as a striker, who's like 20 or something, plays for Accrington Stanley, and just went like absolutely mental when they drew them against Liverpool. He's a lifelong Liverpool fan, and that's why we love the FA Cup, isn't it? Sorry, Connor. But yeah, no, happy with that draw. I think that's a result for us, and hopefully can move through that pretty easily.
Absolutely. So yes, he has shown up. You're not wrong. Something to do with his hair. I think he bent one of the hairs, so he couldn't possibly be seen on TV like that. I don't know. But anyway, here I am. So there we go. Absolutely brilliant. That takes us on to that. We can move on now to the goals, which is what I've been waiting to do. But obviously we wanted to get the FA Cup out of the way. That has now been done. So that is good news. You've just joined us, West Bromwich Albion at home. Beautiful. So, Charlie, I suppose we'll go back to you and kick off on that one. First goal, Elizabeth Turland. I love it. Absolutely love it when the Queen steps up and ascends to her throne. I want her to do that on the daily, and she's absolutely done that this weekend with what I call like the old fox in the box sort of thing, because bit of luck where she was, Jays has had the shot and just lands perfectly for her, but she still had to do all the hard work, and she's put it in the perfect spot, in that nice little sweet spot, which was just out of range of the goalkeeper, but just perfect enough to not cannon back off of the post and for us to sit there and go, oh, we've missed it. So yes, all rise for the Queen. What did you make of that rather stupendous start?
Yeah, really pleased for it. I love it when it goes in off the post. I love the sound of that. I think it's brilliant. But yeah, she had a fair little bit to do. She was being crowded out, wasn't she? And she had to get all the power on it herself. Because Jace's shot was a fairly weak one that then ricocheted off the Liverpool player. Every time she scores, I just feel so relieved for her at the moment. But I think that's just because that's where we've kind of been, haven't we? She works really hard. I know perhaps when you're watching from television, you can't play a cam as much, but there'll be a half of each game where she's right under our noses in the terrace, and she works really, really hard chasing the ball down on her own a lot of the time. So was very deserving of that goal because she put a right shift in. And was getting herself into good positions throughout, I think, and not always being found or not always being picked out. But yeah, really good goal from her. Like again, picking up the loose ball in the box in the right place at the right time, and that's sort of what she's built her goal scoring around. And I hope that we make more of that as the season sort of heads into the second half. But yeah, brilliant from her. Really, really pleased.
Absolutely that. I've been reprimanded. He's gone from using the Connor, he's gone straight into the corporate version here, playing about the polls in the chat. It's a lot to remember. Well, you wasn't expecting to do it. So yes, player of the match poll is in the chat. To be honest, I should have remembered this because I picked 3 of the 4 players and then had the final say on the 4th. It's the most power I've had on WFC all year, actually, and I fully exercised it. So your options are Dominique Janssen. There is Leah Galton. She's in there. Jade Riviere is also in there. Go and pick your favourite, or better still, pick the player that actually played well. That would be probably more appreciated. But yes, on Elizabeth Turland, of course. Her Majesty is number 4. So please do get on there, cast your votes, and at the end of the show, we will see who has won it. Keris, same thing to you for the whole Elizabeth Turland thing. She's had a rocky start at Manchester United, not necessarily been given as many opportunities as we would have liked to have seen. Is the fact, you look at 4 goals and the fact that Elizabeth Turland's on the score sheet, and then you look at the fact there was 21 shots on target, 21 shots on goal, kind of all adds up a little bit more, doesn't it? That the more opportunities you create, the more chance there is that one of those opportunities is going to fall to super markswoman that is Elizabeth Turland.
This is sort of something that seems to be a recurring theme throughout the club, that we get really shocked that when we provide service to a striker, they start scoring goals. It's a fantastic revelation. So yeah, really enjoyed seeing her get on the score sheet again. I thought we needed the goal. To put it simply, I thought that we were really struggling to control the game, and I think that just knocked it like back into shape, knocked the air right out of them. Yeah, really good reaction from her as well to sort of like not just blast it, to place it really nicely. As someone in the comments was saying, after it kind of ricocheted out, she had to react quite quickly. I think it was her that potentially passed it across to Chase in the first place as well. So good to see her being that sort of involved in the box, finding the target against Tegan Micah, who I think is a really good goalkeeper. She made a couple of errors yesterday, but I think on the whole, she is a very solid goalkeeper. She made some really important stops as well. So yeah, I was pleased to see that one. And then what I found really interesting was after that goal, when we saw Charlie Willasinas in the terrace, when our whole team went and like huddled by the box, and the ref in fact like told them to go back. We'll never know, but I do wonder if that was okay, as soon as we get the ball back, we're going to go long and we're going to get another and just completely kill it. Because if that was their master plan, then they executed it perfectly. If it was just a bit of luck, then oh well, we still executed it perfectly. But I thought those 2 minutes, that was sort of the ruthlessness that we really needed to just turn the game around. We say it a lot, how you've got, your Chelseas or whatever. They don't play beautifully great football every single game. Sometimes you just need a moment to turn the game around. And that's to win titles. That's what you have to do. You have to win, even if there are periods of the game you're not playing particularly well. And I thought, granted, I thought we played really well for the second half. But for a lot of the first half, we were not our best selves. And we still managed to come away in spite of that with a really comfortable win. So that was kind of the major positive for me.
I agree. It was absolutely superb. And, watching the goal, very, very pleased. I've cheered. I've picked up my phone in order to tweet my homage to the Queen. And no sooner than I had finished typing my homage to the Queen than Princess Leia stepped up. And it was such a perfect segue, Keris. I couldn't help it. I had to do it. I was like, oh, we have the Queen now. We've got the Princess. Oh, it's brilliant. So there we go. But steps up, and it was a goal from the heavens, quite literally, because Dominique Janssen had a ball about 2, 3, 4 minutes earlier that she's played straight through the middle, which Her Majesty had no chance of getting at all. Oh, well done. Not you, sorry, but yes, you as well. It was Super League Galton, but you. A Star Wars reference there, and he got it. Yes, you're right. She is super. You're not wrong. And we were all thinking, I get the idea, but it wasn't the greatest. This ball, oh my goodness. I mean, that was served up on a silver platter, tied up with a bow, whatever other sort of cliche you'd like to come up with. It was absolutely spot on. And Leah Galton, possibly, a little bit fortunate to a degree, because it was pretty much straight at the goalkeeper, but she hit it so hard that even if she did have her hand on it, which she did, it didn't really make a difference. It still went straight into the back of the net. And again, when you've just come back, actually didn't fall over either, Charlie. So many positives about that goal. What did you make of it? And straight after the turn and goal as well.
Yeah, I think they must have decided they were going to do that. I thought the referee was being an absolute mardy bum when she went over and was trying to move them on, because they hadn't been celebrating that long, had they, Keris? And she's like, mardy, sent them on their way. But yeah, the ball from Janssen, like, I think it's things like that. Obviously, she did it from midfield, but she can play balls like that from centre back all day long, and that's what she's been doing all her career. And when she came on against Everton in the rubbish Conti Cup groups, she was just pinging those sorts of balls around in that second half for fun. So there's one player that can make that pass, it's her. And it must have been planned, because I can't imagine, you don't often see teams start with their winger just absolutely blitzing it at the opposition goal from a kickoff. And yeah, there was the Liverpool player looked like she had paper mache for hands. But if you look at it back, like, Galton hits it with such ferocity. And that's, if you look at Galton's goals generally over a career at United, it's just been sheer power behind the ball. She absolutely leathers it. So it takes some stopping. Often her goals are in the net before the goalkeeper's had a chance to react, and that's what was happening here. And she hits it pretty high as well. So I think it's a little bit awkward. but it was exactly what we needed, and it was just pandemonium when that one went in. But again, that's her only just being back properly from injury and having such a massive impact as well. And she does shrug off, like she shrugs off one of their absolute giant defenders, absolute giants, for fun. So yeah, it was good. And after that, it was only going to go one way really. And I think that Liverpool had to then start to try and make things happen in the second half, which worked in our favour. I don't think Liverpool under Matt Beard aren't really a side that are going to sit in and just hope not to have a cricket score. They're going to try and play football still, and I think that helped us. But yeah, it was a great goal. Really, really pleased. And from that point onwards, it was pretty one-sided, really.
It's interesting that you said that it was planned, because there were certainly bits that I was seeing on Twitter that showed the aftermath of the first goal and the celebration. And they had a bit of a celebration, but they were all in a huddle, saying, well done. And then Maya sort of turned it from a well done huddle into a, right, now listen. And you could see there was some scheming and plotting going on. And Keris, that's... Oh, sorry, go on, Charlie, if you want more, go for it.
I wonder if they I don't know, like, you don't have lots of kickoffs, do you, in a game? So I wonder if it's just something they'd noticed in the build-up to the game. I don't know. I want to look at it back now, actually. Maybe look back at Liverpool a little bit from kickoffs and just see what their defenders are doing. I don't know whether they're quite high up the pitch, or I'm not sure, because if you play it quickly and you're running at them and they're quite high, and you've got players like Galton and Jace, you're not going to be five from your own half, are you? So,
well, I'm going to take a little bit of credit on that one and say that maybe it's a bit of a set piece sort of thing. Maybe the set piece man, after I told him he needed to collect his P45 for that ridiculousness, waving in front of the goalkeeper, maybe he's had a little think there about the best thing you could do. And actually winning that ball high up the pitch there, and like you say, doing that immediately from kickoff, was a good plan. It was absolutely spot on. But Keris, what did you make of, again, how close together it was? Because getting one, the game can always slip away from you at some point. But to go 1-2 when Liverpool have had a reasonable start to the half as well, must have upset them. But for us, absolutely brilliant. 2-goal lead, and we took it into half time.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's probably fair to say there's, whether we planned it or not, I think we probably did. I think it was probably discussed then in that huddle, but there's a little bit of luck in the sense that the goalkeeper plays a long pass where she doesn't need to, and we win it in the midfield. There's a little bit of luck there, but I think what is really key for me is just that ruthlessness. Like we keep saying, like we have such, it was especially last season, I think, where we had just this really weird habit of just making games really difficult for ourselves, because we would score one and be like, oh yeah, like it's all good. And then you'd remember that's actually only one goal, and they can score a random header from a corner and you draw in. So I think it was really good to see us just not try and sit on a 1-0 lead into half time and go straight back out and go and get that second. That yesterday was probably one of the biggest positives for me from that performance, because it just shows that attacking instinct and that killer instinct and that ruthlessness. I think that's the thing that a lot of people have felt has been really missing this season. So to see that kind of in a really obvious and literal way was a big positive for me. And obviously, I mean, it was just a great ball by Janssen. I think Janssen deserves credit. Galton also deserves credit. She still had a lot to do. She's got to shrug off that defender. She's got to get the ball. It was a great ball, but she's still got to control it out of the air, right? So she's got to control it. She's got to shrug off that defender, and she's got to beat the goalkeeper. And she finishes it so powerfully with the defender on her back and the keeper in front of her. And I think it was a goal that really summarised like everything that is really good about her style of play and why she is still so valuable to us.
No, it's hard to disagree with anything anybody's saying at the moment. And she went on from having done a superb assist to scoring a goal. And again, what a goal it was. Now, I was really watching Dominique's performance purely because I wanted to see how she was going to react to coming back in and having to come back in again at centre midfield. Because there was a part of me that's gone away from some of these shows thinking, but you know what? She is a good centre-back. And if she is a good centre back, surely she could be a good defensive midfielder. You know, I mean, we've had that conversation before about Maya potentially, Maya possibly stepping up into that position if she needed to. And, you know, there are players that have that ability, that carry themselves well enough to do it. We've seen centre midfielders drop back into centre back before because they're defensively minded. So there was part of me that was like, if she's as good as we think she is at centre back, she should be able to mould into this position. And she really did. Now, it's interesting because I was watching her go forward and I'm thinking, is this where it goes wrong? Is it that she's gone forward, somebody loses the ball and she's just not able to get back and she's not there to cover? And actually, having watched it, go on, you point at the wall.
Dogs.
Oh, it's 22 though, they're 5 minutes early. Can't be having this. But there we go, that's your alarm clock for all you people that have been waiting for the bark. But yes, so Charlie, it was a great goal once again. Ball comes in from the right hand side. Leah Galton with the opportunity to shoot, doesn't quite have the space, turns around, side foots it with the outside of the boot to Dominique. And the minute it left her foot, we're all thinking, well, that's on target. Just can the goalie get down? And the answer was no, she couldn't. It was, again, a really good goal. All in the placement again, not so much the power. What did you make of that? Because the first goal for the club, and of course, more importantly, a way to shut people like me up that are saying, let's put Hayley Ladd in midfield.
Yeah, it was a really good goal, wasn't it? It was a crowded box, and it's Galton making the right decision. So took her time and played the right pass to her. And yeah, she had to place it because it was a crowded box, and she put it right in the bottom corner, which made it impossible for the goalkeeper. But again, even her taking that shot from that position is something we hadn't been doing, and you want to see more of it because she's got that in her locker. We've got loads of players that have got that in their locker from sort of 18 to 25 yards out, contest a goalkeeper. So it was nice to see her do that, because what I'd normally expect is for her to receive it and then pass it backwards or pass it sideways. So it probably helps, like Kerry said, they were feeling more confident, the tails were up. It was going to take a real effort to lose the game because Liverpool weren't offering a lot. So they just tried a little bit more and did things that we haven't been used to them doing this season. And I want to see more of that. Players like Janssen, players like Toon, Gabby George when she gets in and around the 18-yard box, because she scored loads of goals from that sort of position for Everton in the past around the edge of the 18-yard box. I want to see more of that from those players, because we've been accused of, and quite rightly, of just not taking shots in games, of just being happy with keeping a clean sheet, even if it means not scoring ourselves. So want to see more of that. Commit the opposition goalkeeper. And again, the crowded box was just the sheer volume of our players trying to get in there, expecting the return cross in, which is what happened, and just creating a little bit of chaos in there, which allowed Janssen the time to get her head up and pick a position. And she put it away really well. I think technically it was my favourite goal of the game against Liverpool.
Now, I'll let you into a little bit of a secret. They're my favourite type of goals. Having grown up watching the likes of Paul Scholes, when you get a shot that is just laid off to somebody who's coming running in, and it's always 50-50. It's like, it's literally the lottery ticket, right? You take the shot, and 9 times out of 10, you look at it and you're like, whoa, Rosed. But when they hit it perfectly, it's just magical. And that one absolutely was. Keris, did it make you feel as good as it made me feel? Because honestly, watching that for a first goal, wow.
Yeah, it was a fantastic goal. It's also worth mentioning, Connor sent me some sort of stat earlier in the week about like our players who'd scored the most goals against Liverpool throughout their careers, no matter who it was. Rachel Williams was top with 4, and second with 3 was Dominique Janssen. And we were like, whoa, that's a random one. Like, what's she doing there? So, of course, she scored her first United goal against Liverpool. But yeah, really, really good strike. I was really impressed with Janssen yesterday. I think she's had games where she's just seemed quiet because she's done her job. I don't think there's been many games where I've thought she's not being physical enough in the midfield, or she's not covering the back line enough. I think she does that side of her job well, as you would expect from a centre-back stepping up into defensive mid. But I thought her passing was really good yesterday, hence obviously 2 assists. And I thought just her confidence was really good, and having the cushion, the 2-goal cushion, did probably help a lot with that, because that's not a situation we have found ourselves in very often this season. So I think now the next step for her is taking that creativity and that confidence into games and just gamble a little bit, gamble on your ability to get forward and create chances and your ability to get back after it. I think that's her next sort of step. But yeah, no, that was funny to me, because when she scored, the first thing I thought of was that stat that Connor had sent me earlier in the week.
That is quite a stat. I mean, I know Liverpool haven't been. It's quite a thing. 3 goals. Well, there you go. I wanted to have a little. I mean, it's not often we sit here and big up opposition or anything like that, but I think that was the goal. It was either this one or the next one, but I'm pretty sure it was this one, where literally 30 seconds beforehand, Gemma Bonner makes what is quite frankly one of the most ridiculous blocks I think I've ever seen in my life. And I don't mean ridiculous as in ho, ho, ho. I mean ridiculous as in, oh my God, I wish I was you. It was just superb. And it's one of those where when you look at that, you feel for them. And we've had moments like that. I think we had one where Fallon made a save earlier on in the year. Absolutely brilliant. And then from the corner, we conceded. And it just seems to be the way, doesn't it? That actually, when something like that happens, we have the absolute joy of watching Janssen do that. But I know it's Liverpool and we don't like Liverpool, but there was a little bit of me that just felt a little bit sorry for Gemma Bonner, because you've done all that. You might as well have just let the first shot go in when that happens. Did any part of you that either of you that was like, that's a bit of a shame for you, but I'm really pleased we scored? Or am I just
No,
no, sorry, wrong me. Okay.
No, last season she basically knocked the ball into the net with her hand at Lee against us, so she can jog on. No, not bothered. It was an all right slide tackle. She's doing a job. I'm not going to praise her for that. Well done. Well done. You put a block in when you were 3-0 down. Where were you 20 minutes ago?
Okay, Roy Keane.
And he put an Irish accent on. That's what I was thinking about as I was saying it. This sounds ridiculous. And he said it seriously. Yeah, don't care. Don't care.
She was just doing her job. Okay, fair enough. Keris, for you, was there any?
The fan in me is never going to have any real like sympathy for Liverpool. Like, okay, you lost 4-0 to United at United. Like, exactly. I think the journalist in me, there's been a lot of people in the comments this season saying, oh, they've really fallen off this season. Is worth pointing out for those who don't follow them as closely. It's kind of an issue that we see sometimes across the WSL against sides with, obviously we don't know everyone's budget, but Liverpool seem to have a lower budget. And they took a lot of it this summer to bring in Olivia Smith, who, by the way, is an excellent footballer. But yeah, they spent a lot of their budget bringing in Olivia Smith. I do think that was a good move for them, but they've been horribly unlucky with injuries. Their squad is really thin on the ground at the moment. And that is definitely, I think, contributing a lot to why they've sort of slipped quite a lot below the level of competitiveness that we were seeing from them last season. So the journalist in me would say that, the fan in me and would say great block. The defender in me also says great block. The fan in me is like, yeah, no, I'm not bothered. It was funny.
Didn't they also? I'm sure they've had injury issues since the start of the season, haven't they? Because they had to pull out of a pre-season game against us because they didn't have a team.
They've had a lot of, like, throughout pre-season, throughout the season. Obviously, Sophie Lungard tore her ACL, and then over the international break, this most recent one as well. I think Hannah Silcock, Rachel Laws, I can't remember if hers before or during, and Gemma Evans. All picked up injuries. I think Silcock and Evans were both like concussions. So that's the situation where there is nothing a manager can do. If someone has had a knock on the head and they have to sit the game out, they have to sit the game out. So from that perspective, yeah, that explains a little bit of it. And it's that thing again of clubs needing to invest to give squads that have a bit more depth. But obviously, you know, from a United versus Liverpool perspective, we're not going to spend our last few minutes of the show harking on about how sorry we feel for Liverpool.
Absolutely not. Nobody cares when we ain't got any fullbacks. And yes, Connor, I knew I could rely on Kiss to answer that question. in the manner that it was written. But I also knew that Charlie would straight up say, no, absolutely not, no chance. So there we go. That's as close to a scripted question as you're going to get from me there. Last one. Knowing me and knowing you.
Lord.
Thank you very much. I knew it was coming. What a moment. She was having a great day anyway. But again, a second assist for Dominique Janssen. And again, what a ball in. Melvin Mallard just in time, arriving at the far post. And again, a bit like Leah Galton. The placement, maybe not ideal, but nothing the goalkeeper could do about it. And as a result, boom. Listen, as long as it's on target, you got a chance, right? And that's exactly what she did. That's what you would want every person to do. Melvin Mallard, was you as happy as she was? Because you just couldn't wipe that smile off her face, Charlie.
I love Melvin Mallard. And she's been more of an impact sub, hasn't she, this season? She's kind of made a massive difference and picked up a couple of goals. But yeah, great from her. And again, it was just another example of something we've been crying out for. So the ball being played into the box, and you've got someone attacking the front post, someone in the 6-yard box, and someone coming in at the back post. Because again, we've just not been doing that. It's just been Queen Elizabeth on her own in there. No matter what happens, just Queen Elizabeth by herself trying to occupy four defenders. And it almost felt a little bit like old school United, didn't it? Really quick one-touch football, and then boom, straight in. And again, I think there's been a lot of chat about the goalkeeper should have done better. Me as not a goalkeeper, I can't believe anyone's got the mentality to want to stand in the way of that when that's happening. I'd be jumping out of the way. But again, I think it was just hit so hard. They've got like milliseconds to respond. And I think probably if she'd managed to keep it out, someone would have tapped it in anyway. So I don't really think it mattered. But it was a great goal from her. And every time she comes on the pitch, she just plays with a smile on her face. I think she's such a good player. She must be such a good character. I'm so glad that we've got someone like her in the dressing room. I will always call for more minutes for her, but it sort of feels ridiculous to do that based off yesterday because, Leah Galton was so good, wasn't she? It seems ridiculous to say, oh, Melvin should be starting the next game. But what a wonderful player to come off the bench and do what regularly the substitutes have been doing for United the last couple of years is coming off the bench and making a massive difference, whether it was Williams, whether it was Lucia Garcia last season. So it's nice to see that we've got those players that can come off the bench and make a big difference. What are you laughing at?
Absolutely no, nothing you said. I just keep that one in my head. And this was what I was looking for. Superb here. I think it's spot on. And this, to be fair, a fully fit Leah Galton, same thing. But against tired legs, it is always a fun watch, isn't it, Keris? And that was exactly what was happening. If you are playing for Liverpool and you are in the defence and you see Melvin Mallard come on, your only thoughts must be words that you possibly can't repeat on a show that children might potentially watch.
Yeah, no, I thought that was probably the best goal technically, I would say. I thought it was really good. I love seeing Mallard play. She was one of the signings in inverted commas because obviously we kept her from the loan, but she was one of my favourite keeps from the summer. And again, like Charlie said, it's a nice problem to have that we are in certain positions now, not in others. In others, we're like, oh my God, if that person gets injured again, we're stuffed. But in some positions, we are now in that really nice situation where we can go, oh, I really want more minutes for them. But you can't drop whoever because they've been playing really well as well. And that's a great situation for us to be in. So yeah, really enjoyed that goal. It just puts a better spin on it, doesn't it? Like 4-0 just sounds a lot better than 3-0. I think 2-0 is decent, 3-0 is comfortable, and 4-0 is a thrashing. So that was a nice little semantic change from that, and just good to see her keeping that that energy and that confidence that she always seems to bring to the pitch. Like she's a fantastic just presence to have around.
Yeah, you're not wrong, Ella.
And it was Eve, my little girl Evie was lucky enough to get into one of the got through to one of the sign things early in the season. They do the little sign-in window things. Obviously I went in with her, left William outside. No, I didn't. William wasn't there. And it was Melvin was one of them, and she was amazing in there. like really, really good, like really engaging with the kids. So were Emma Watson and Bizet, to be honest, even though they had a heart attack because she's fallen in love with Celine Muzzy Bizet.
Did you call her Mazzy? Did you go, all right, Mazzy?
Muzzy Bizet? No, I didn't. I didn't say
That's
anything. Absolute political self. 37, grow up. So I let Evelyn have a photo with them. But Melvie Mallow was class. She's so cool. She's like such a dude. There's like an aura. Yeah, great player, great person, I think, as well.
No, she was one of the players who I remember, like, I just loved watching from the terrace after we beat Chelsea in April. Because from memory, I don't think she played much that game. I think she was on the bench for the vast majority of the game. And her reaction was just fantastic. She was just so happy. And I think that's because it's hard for players when they're not playing, and you don't want to belittle that at all. It's hard for players when they're not starting, because a player of her quality, you want to be starting games. But to see someone who can still bring that attitude and that energy and that positivity, even when they are not starting games, is just great to see. So yeah, really, really happy for her. And again, in that situation where you're like, I really want to see more of her, but also I don't want to drop Leah Galton. I don't want to drop Celine Bizet. So like, what do we do? It's a nice place to be in.
It was great. It was great to bring her, Bizet, and Watson on. Like what firepower you have there, because when Bizet came on, she was also brilliant. Because they're coming on, aren't they? Not to shut up shop. They're coming on to make a difference, which was really nice. Yeah, I hope we see Emma Watson start again against Newcastle. That'd be really good. I think midweek to see her play them.
Yeah, I think it was nice as well that we had, because quite a lot of the time when we make the kind of subs that we seem to be making at the time we seem to be making them, we're not usually in that comfortable a position. So the subs probably don't usually feel they have as much attacking license and as much as creative license as they maybe did yesterday. And I think that really showed yesterday, that they just felt they had that freedom to try things, to go forward, to take people on, to try passes and through balls and whatever that they might not have if we were 2-0 rather than 3-0 up or whatever. So really, and great to see Emma Watson as well. Thought she did a really, really solid job when she came on. And yeah, really, she should be. There's no reason we shouldn't be starting her against Newcastle. If she is fully fit and ready to start, I think for me, there's no reason that she shouldn't be starting midweek. So really exciting to just see what is coming from her.
No, absolutely. I fully agree. And puzzling time, generally, I would tend to agree with you, but I think with the 3 games coming up, well, not 3 games coming up, because obviously that one was in progress, but 2 more games, 3 games in 7 days. I think actually it was a sensible thing to do. Maybe not from a legs point of view, but she's only just come back herself from an injury. It made perfect sense to me to try and protect the Queen as much as we can, because let's be honest, that's what you do, isn't it? Unless it's chess, in which case you need to protect your king. Otherwise, it's check, mate. We're not here for that. We are here. Sorry.
I mean, I don't play chess, but isn't it the Queen that you have to like?
Absolutely not. The Queen, amazingly, can go everywhere in any way.
Well, yeah, but it's the Queen that you have to like protect to not get checkmate. Okay, never mind. I don't know chess.
Definitely the king.
The king.
I mean, listen, it was made in like the 15th century or something stupid. I don't know. It's a very, very old game. And as you well know, anything beyond anything before the year 2000 is generally aimed at blokes. It's only the last 24 years that we've started to see, a little bit more positivity coming your way. Everything's got to be a king, isn't it? It's mad. So nice to see a few more queens out. Right. Speaking of queens, Sean, even and all, love that the Welsh Premier Player of the Year, who's now at West Brom, is going to run rings around Janssen in midfield. In case you're not sure what that's all about, we've watched the FA Cup draw. It was live, and we are at home to West Bromwich Albion. Don't forget, you've not got long left. Get on YouTube. You're in there because you're watching us, obviously. I'm on StreamYard. Push the button. Pick your person, because we will be revealing your player of the match exclusively within the next 5 minutes or so. Might be a bit longer because I do have to ask both of you a question. It would be wrong of us not to talk about this. I've deliberately ignored all the early going on with this. I knew that there'd be a lot of people wanting to lead with it, but we're here to talk about something very positive. But there is some negativity going around at the moment. Things such as Sir Jim in his chat with UWS magazine and Andy Mitten has made it clear that the women's team are last on the list of priorities. Now one of the flu allies at the boardroom level has gone, Dan Ashworth. Kevin saying, Sir Jim's quote, that they're improving and taking part in something that's growing, that we would like to participate in that, was cryptic. Are we a priority or not? Now, I've said for a while that we don't appear to be a bit of a priority. We don't appear to be even bothering in terms of looking after where we are. But I've been on record, and I won't shy away from saying it again. Financially, it makes sense. It makes sense that the first thing you do is step into the football club and try and sort out the mess that's going on in the men's team, because that is ultimately where the bulk of the finance and the money is in. So if you're trying to sort out a financial problem, that's definitely a place to start. But while we're at it and we're talking about a financial problem, might it make sense to hold up a little mirror to ourselves and point out the fact that we are in such a gargantuan debt? Is because we've got some little Irish window cleaning leprechauns who have decided to take all the money they possibly can out of our football club and left ourselves. I know she's not sure, is she, Charlie? But she's left us in what can only be described as absolute limbo. They've now decided they're going to throw kids' prices up to £66 to go and watch a football match. And it's embarrassing, actually. And now he's come out and said what he said. He didn't necessarily say that the women are the bottom of the priority list, but he does say that they needed to focus on the men's team. If they were to focus on the women's team as well, they'd be spread too thin. What I don't understand.
I've got the full quote in front of me, Barry, if you want me to read it out in case anyone's not seen it. So he was asked, there's a perception that you're not interested in the women's team. How do you view their future? He said, that perception is slightly misguided. He said, there's only so much you can do, and our focus has been on the men's team. If not, you get spread too thinly. He called the men's team the main issue. He said the women's team is an opportunity. Women's football is growing really quickly in popularity and size. We need to participate in that. The girls wear a Manchester United badge on their shirt and they're representing the club. So this was in an issue with United We Stand, which, by the way, go pick that up or subscribe to it online if you're not, because it was a really, really good interview. And to secure an interview with Jim Ratcliffe is a great scoop for them. But that was his full quote on the women's team.
Thanks, Chris. There's a Cammy, Jeff Stelling reference there. But no, absolutely super and spot on. That's exactly what we're trying to say. So, Charlie, having listened to what Sir Jim's got to say there, what does that make you feel? Because the women have been made to feel less than again. You try your best to sort of stick up for it where you can, but they've still got the best facilities. That's often thrown out there. The fact that they were taken out of the new £10 million changing rooms and everything and centre that they had set up, and instead they've been thrown into the porta cabins. But it is still widely agreed that the women's facilities that they have and that they use to train are still up there amongst the best in the WSL. So, that's not the issue. But again, it's just another case of we're just going to focus here. At the end of the day, they've got so many people. They've just sacked Dan Ashworth. They've got so many people just doing when I played Championship Manager all those years ago, you never had to worry about these sort of things. But now it's all get a director of football here, get this there. Would it have been so difficult to employ someone to look after the women's team and just say, you've got a year, we're going to be focusing our direction totally there. Here's your budget, make it work. And that surely would have been a better way of doing it rather than all this constant ridiculousness.
Well, it's not like he's been like a bumbling buffoon every time he's been asked about the women's side. So they're just going to keep asking him about it because he doesn't articulate himself effectively enough, which is, or maybe he is, I don't know. Maybe he's articulating, maybe he's saying what he wants to say. I don't know. Like we've had someone explicitly dedicated to the women's side before called Polly Bancroft, and she was dreadful. So it's not even necessarily that you need someone to have sole responsibility for that. I think the whole Dan Ashworth thing looks ridiculous. I think that just looks absolutely bonkers. And yeah, from a women's team point of view, it is a slight concern because he is sort of historically, he's got a reputation for being someone who really supports the women's side of things, whichever club he's at, and likes to drive that forward. But I just think that whole thing just looks like an absolute shambles from the outside. They paid a fortune to get him 5 months ago, didn't they? Took 5 months of garden leave and stuff, like paid a fortune to get him. And then something's happened that means he's gone. And they're going to probably have to pay for that as well. There's probably going to be some other sort of payout. And that's where I just find it hard. That's what I find hard to come to terms with, is all these payouts of things because poor employment decisions have been made that shouldn't have been made, or people are losing their jobs and you're paying to get them in and then you're having to pay to get rid of them. And you think that money could be better spent on the women's side, surely, like giving him a pittance of what the payout's going to have to be for him and all these managers that they keep sacking. But yeah, I think there's still a little bit of me that thinks it's going to be fine. Like Omar's another one, isn't he? Who's I don't know, he's not anti-women's football, but then is that the best we want to hope for? Is that the people in charge aren't anti-women's football rather than being pro-women's? But yeah, Ella, he chooses his words dreadfully. But and I think if I was, I don't know, if I was on the board, I'd be saying, look, if they ask about the women, you need to say this, but then you need to maybe say it this way. But is there a kind of, I don't know, maybe it's a good thing that he talks the way he does because we know where we stand, rather than someone coming out and talking a load of codswallop that then never happened. But yeah, it's a shame. Like, they spent a lot of money on the women's side this summer. I mean, that can't be denied, can it? A lot of money was spent on them. They've got big players in. I think there's a lot of chat from the women's side of things, of sort of fans saying them not sacking Mark Skinner means they're not bothered. I don't know. I think that's what people are running with, aren't they? If they were bothered, they'd get a better manager. But I don't know. The whole thing to me is just bizarre, isn't it? It's the first time it's looked a little bit like they don't know what they're doing, which is a bit of a worry. But then maybe that's just how Jim Ratcliffe has been successful, is he's been very cutthroat. Like the nosy Parker in me wants to know what on earth has triggered it properly. I don't know if that's. I don't spend my whole life looking and trawling for news from Man United, because you go in, you want to throw yourself out of a.
Fancy having your life. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Puzzling time. You come straight out with this a little unfair. Many managers say the Conti Cup isn't a priority. That doesn't mean you don't want to win. It's just the reality of limited resources and poor PR. I mean, I get what you're saying. Absolutely. But again, it's the way that he said it. And I think if he'd have just come out again and said, listen, we got to sort out the money, and the majority of the income to this football club comes through how well or how poorly the men's team are performing. So if we can get them back to be in a competitive side, obviously we get more money, more sponsorship, more of that. And the more money we earn there, the more money we can put into other bits. You'd kind of at least see where he was coming from. But actually, I still think there's a lot to be said for, what's that old saying? Teach a man to fish, you'll feed him for life. Give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Same sort of thing here. Actually, why are we not getting to a point where we can get the women's team to be self-sufficient, to not need to have anything coming from the men's team, but to have the ability for them to grow organically? And they could do that, I think. But Keris, Charlie makes some interesting points there. Is there anything, what do they need to do in order to make the women's team feel like they're not being entirely forgotten? Where do you stand on all of these quotes and everything that's been said?
I think there is a point, and there is obvious, like, it would be unrealistic to say that the owner of Man United is going to prioritise the women's team equally to the men's team. That would be unrealistic, and it probably wouldn't be financially sensible either. It's one thing to know you're going to prioritise. Oh, goodbye, Charlie. It's one thing to know you're going to prioritise the men's team. It's another thing, I think, to be as blatant about it, because the issue for me is that if you're not, I know Charlie's made a fair point about, would you not rather have someone who just says it how it is and we know that's how he feels? if you don't even want to say the words that are going to make you liked by the women's fan base, that's not a great sign for you wanting to engage that fan base and wanting them to make them feel like they're part of the club. Hello, Charlie, you're back. So I think the PR side of things, for me, I'm amazed that no one has taken Jim Ratcliffe to one side and said, listen, like, even if you feel this way about the women's team, or even if you are apathetic towards the women's team, you need to at least act like you're not. I'm amazed that hasn't happened, or if it has, that it's been ignored, because it's not a good look, right? There's no two ways to cut it. That's not a good look for the club. I think it's hard to know what's going on behind the scenes at Manchester United, right? We don't fully know the full extent of why Dan Ashworth has been. We don't know the full extent of why Dan Ashworth has been. You used the word sacked. We should, because I'm a journalist, I'm going to say technically it was by mutual agreement, but it looks like that mutual agreement was a bit more mutual from the club than from him. We don't know why fully that happened, but it sounds as though it was mostly to do with decisions or involvement of his on the men's side as opposed to on the women's side. It doesn't look like his impact on the women's side was really considered. And the concern for me is that we bring in someone now who, at least Dan Ashworth, he seemed like he gave a toss about the women's team. You know, Skinner spoke multiple times about how he was involved, how he'd been down to see them, which, again, we shouldn't have to be asking for that, right? It should be, yes, of course, your sporting director takes an interest in the women's side. But unfortunately, that is the situation we're in, where that's what we need and that's what we're asking for. So I think it's an opportunity now for the club to at least try to put things right, because I think the fan base are being alienated at the moment. And there's a lot of people saying, like, yeah, the women's team aren't hanging by a thread. We did have a lot of investment in transfers, or we brought in some really good transfers. It's about building on that now, and it's about viewing the women's team as a long-term opportunity and a long-term success, rather than, I think the thing that irritated me the most in those quotes, in my personal opinion, was the participate in women's football, as if we haven't already won the FA Cup, right? We're not just participating, and we shouldn't just be participating. We should be winning the title. We should be pushing to win the title. And I think that is what concerned me, is we need to set that standard high. So yeah, I think it's an opportunity now for the club to put things right by sort of correcting what he's saying in some of these interviews, maybe, and just sort of showing a bit of care towards the team. Because it could be that behind the scenes, you know, I was in Mark Skinner's press conference yesterday, he was saying, like, I know there's a real love and a real affinity for the women's team. It could be that does seem like it's the case behind the scenes, and is the case. But if the fans aren't seeing it, you are going to alienate the fan base. And that is one of the worst things that you can do as a football club owner. So that is my I have a lot of thoughts. I could talk about this for a long time, but I know that Barry has got another show. So I'll kind of wrap up there. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but that's sort of the problem. We need to have some assurance that what's going on behind the scenes is positive. We can't just take their word for it.
Indeed. Don't worry about me, Keris. You can crack on for as long as you want. I'll just do to you what I do to scam callers and goal callers. If we get to half 8 and you are still going on, I'll just disappear onto the next one and just leave this going and let you crack on. So worry ye not. No problems there. So yeah, it's very, very interesting. Who knows what they will do. The poll has been wrapped up, which is great news. That is absolutely fabulous. But the gaffer being, there we go. Or has it? It's gone. I don't know. It hasn't wrapped it up, but he's gonna, because he's listening to this. So we're gonna wait for him to put himself together. It's done. We have it. Honestly, it's a landslide. Leah Galton and Jade Riviere joint with 7%. But yes, indeed, puzzling time. by a whisker, by an absolute whisker of 62%. To the absolute surprise of nobody, Dominique Janssen is our player of the match winner, 73%. Queen Elizabeth III with 11%. So there we go. But Connor will say, I'll say it because he's not here, just pleased that everyone got a vote. So that's great news. I wouldn't be surprised if he's got some burner accounts and he just goes in there and votes for all four. Who knows? Do we agree with that? Keris, who would your player of the match have been?
Yeah, I would have said Dominique Janssen. I think it's very hard to sniff at someone who's got 2 assists and a goal. Yeah, I was really, really happy with how she played. I think it shows her potential in that role, and hopefully she can just keep building on that and keep building her confidence going forward, because we know that she's got so much talent. So yeah, I would agree with the majority like a sheep.
Love that. Would you agree with that, Charlie, or do you think she's balmy?
No, yeah, I agree. I voted for Dominique Janssen. Easy one for me. Absolutely bossed it.
Even I'm disappointed with that one. You're pointing to the wrong side, love. You need the hands over here. I'll do it for you. It's terrible. I'm sorry. But there we go. So it was horrendous. Listen, I can't help it. I say it, and then sometimes the
Connor, come back. Don't leave us with Barry.
It's outrageous. If that's all I had to do to get myself kicked off a show, Connor, I'd have done it earlier. But there we go. Listen, what a time it has been. But yes, I am going to disappear because in 14 minutes' time, I'm going to go and talk about the FA Cup and all of the other WSL games over on All for Women's Football. And yes, he will be back soon. The King, Mr. Elvis. We're all missing him. So let's just throw him back.
It was carnage at the start, Connor. It was carnage before we came on air.
I actually couldn't have guessed what you were just reaching for, Barry. Like I saw you said Elvis and reached off camera. I was like,
you've never seen my
gave
Connor?
Me 20 years, I couldn't have guessed what he was going to come back with.
You've never seen my Connor? Can you tell me that? Uh-huh. Can you not imagine that?
Not especially.
No, just like
no. Barry,
welcome to All for United WFC. My name's Connor Roberts. And what a battle I've got with me. No? Ah, well, whatever. Some people are happy, some people are not. Yeah. Listen, some of them work, some of them don't. Return of the Quiff, yeah. Forget Return of the Jedi. Return of the Quiff-Eye would have worked. There we go. Good stuff. Well done, Dominique Janssen. Well done, Manchester United women. And more importantly, well done, Keris and Charlie, for managing to get through a whole show with me here. It's been a bit weird being on the in the driver's seat for here. It's been a very long time. And it'll probably be a very long time till I'm back again. Shame. But there we are. I can just go back to doing what you two do very soon. It's been a pleasure. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for joining in, for being in the chat. If you haven't already, please do like and subscribe. Don't follow Charlie if you really want to. Not on Twitter, just, like when she's at the game. Go, hello, Charlie. She loves that sort of stuff. And more than anything, just to make sure she doesn't fall onto the pitch, because I can't always be there to sort that out. Keris, where can people find your work? Have a little shout out before we go.
My Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it these days is on the screen. I'm writing for nationalworld.com. I write from thespot.co.uk. If anyone has any graduate jobs going, then those are also more than welcome. So yeah, thanks guys.
There you go. Wasn't expecting that. We've turned into the American version, the English version, sorry, of Craigslist, I think there. So there we go. If you can, please do offer Keris a job. McDonald's need not apply. Charlie's not happy with that. I couldn't think of the one I was looking for, so I just went with that.
I got that. Yeah.
It's time for me to go. What is it again? Barry out. Yeah.
One day.
It's an absolute pleasure. You're all legends. I'm going to go and get myself told off. See you later.